citrus sunshine.
I'm so thirsty. Let's go.
So, funny story about this, actually. So this is from Marble Brewery. It's a local brewery here. This guy just, like, came into Tractor and was all, like weird, though. Like, he came in and was like, can I help you? And he just kind of stared at me. And I was like, right now. And then he, like, pulls out a beer, and I wanted to be like, bro, you can't, like, bring your own beer into a bar. Can't. And then he's like, hey, I work over at Marble. I was wondering if you wanted one of these. And I was like, oh, for sure, man, for sure. So if you're watching this, random stranger, I appreciate you.
Thanks, dude.
4, 3, 2, 1.
So, Harris, how are you? Since last week. We're doing good, guys. It's been 6 or 7 days since the last pod. We're trying to be consistent. Track. We're not going to pick a day yet when we can say Tuesdays. Garden Shed.
But you know what? This worked out. We wanted to film this episode the other day, but now we waited and we get to talk about Oppenheimer.
Oh, my nuclear bomb. We went to go see it together. We have a couple little shorts in the works for that, of like our immediate reaction and some funny stuff. We're going to do a bit where we have these goggles and anyway, you got to tune in to see it.
Just got to see it.
But we went together to the theater to see it. It was a good old fun time. Let's just go right into Oppenheimer.
Okay, real quick. What do you think of this?
Oh, I'm so excited.
Ooh, so fruity.
It's called Acid Trip. What?
Yeah, it's like alpha acid trip. Alpha acid trip.
Alpha Brain.
Sunshine.
Acid Trip, brought to you by Joe Rogan.
Dude, just the smell alone. Oh, this is yummy.
Is that an IPA?
It tastes like an IPA. It's very hoppy.
That's good, though.
It's not bad.
I can deal with it.
I would not mind getting one of these if
I'd order one.
Ever went over to Marble. Although, funny story about Marble.
Like Voodoo Ranger.
Did I ever tell you why I didn't work at Marble? So I applied at Marble before Tractor.
Okay.
The manager there was super nice. Like, the employees were super chill. They were like, yeah, like, we'll have you come on. Like, even if we don't get you in as a bartender, like, for sure, door person, bar back, like, and we'll get you into bartending. And this was a couple years ago when I started working at Starbucks. And I was like, okay, dope. Like, I'm down with that. And then they, like, had me go meet with this, like, higher up manager. I don't know if she's, like, a district manager or, like, the actual hiring manager for their location or whatever she is.
Okay. At Marble?
Interview. Right? Yeah. So I drive downtown to, like, the main Marble location. And this lady, mid-interview, was like, tell me about some of your hobbies, right? Like, we've gone through, like... I graduated college. Like, we went through, like, I have experience as a barista at Starbucks and Pinion Coffee. I'd done some serving at Chili's, like, right? So, like, looking pretty good overall if you want to go be a bartender, right? And then she asked me hobbies. And I'm like, well, I like playing music and I like theater. I didn't say that I wanted to be a musician or an actor, which I do, but I didn't say that. She then took that and was like, well, musicians are fine, but actors are unreliable. And I was like,
what?
Explain, please. I was like, you asked me what my hobbies were. You asked me what my hobbies were. You didn't even ask what my, like, long term. You didn't ask me, like, what do you want to do in 5 years? Right? You just asked me, what are your hobbies? Maybe I just do community theater on the weekends. Like, you didn't even ask that.
Wow.
And then I was like, okay, so explain that to me, right? And she's like, well, like, musicians will kind of know when their shows are. You know, if you're doing theater, all of a sudden, you're going to have a show coming up and you're just going to, like, miss a week of work. And then I was like,
really.
And I was like, I guess I kind of know in advance what my theater schedule would look like if I was doing a production, though. She's like, I don't know. Just in my experience, they're unreliable. And then I was like, thanks for your time. And I walked out and left. I've never walked out of an interview, but I just dead ass walked out of the interview.
Her ex-boyfriend was an actor.
Something.
did her dirty.
Yeah, dude, it was wild. I was like, yeah, I don't want to work at Marble. That's okay.
You
guys got okay beer, though. I'll give you guys that.
Yeah, the beer's okay. I think Tractor's got good beer anyway.
Okay.
Well,
so Oppenheimer, then?
We got a little bit of a new... Oh, Jesus.
We're
blowing it.
Oh, God. Fireplace going?
Yeah. Ooh.
Some nice warmth.
Yeah, it's smoking here. It smells like camping in here.
I wish. It smells like nothing.
It's portable.
Sweet smell of nothing. Oh my God, you're burning your hand. Oh God.
I got those barista hands from Starbucks.
Harnessing the power of fire. I like the new setup though. I mean, we're technically back to where we started,
It's a combination
but I like it.
of the old and the new. These chairs we've had in here since the beginning of shed time.
Since before the time of the shed.
Yeah, see, I'm still bumping into shit. We're working it out. I gotta fix my mic setup. We gotta kind of put some more stuff up. But I'm digging it.
It's pretty good. I
It's
especially
more
like
comfy.
the brick. We built solid brick right here.
Yeah, we learned how to do bricklaying, you know, thanks to YouTube videos. You can do anything you want.
There's a YouTube video out there.
Okay, Oppenheimer.
You sound like you did a lot of research into it before you went into
Was
the
fucking
movie.
sick.
So was there anything? I just want to
you
know
wanna
right off
call
the
it
bat. Did they
research.
miss anything in the movie, or do you feel like they hit all like the?
No, that's what I was
the key points.
impressed. I was impressed that the movie seemed to hit everything that like this deep dive video touched on Oppenheimer. It's called Infographics Show. Shout out that channel. It's a huge channel.
There you go.
They make the best fucking videos. Dude, they pump out like 1 or 2 videos a day. It's crazy.
That's where we
They have a whole video, like a whole team.
Do keep an eye out. We did make a little reaction right after we got out of the movie, so there's gonna be like a short TikTok coming out.
Yeah, I just need to record. I want to do like a little voiceover on the beginning. It's almost done.
So if anything, that should be out.
That'll be out before
episode's
this.
Done. Yeah. Side point 2. We're about to come out with the Chocolate and Coffee Festival vlog that we did a little while back.
We did a vlog. We went to, I think it's the world's biggest chocolate and coffee festival.
Biggest, yeah. I don't know that there's that many of them, but it is the biggest. Yeah.
We walked around and tried a bunch of chocolate and coffee.
Got very caffeinated.
Who doesn't want to watch that? It's a jolly good time.
We're basically done with that one. Just kind of need to lay the voiceover stuff on it. And that one's good.
Yeah, it's going to be a good long vlog, probably 12, 13 minutes. Watch it all. Watch the whole thing, the blast our retention. Just kidding. So,
please help us out.
Oppenheimer. I thought it was fantastic. I didn't get up to pee. I didn't want to eat. I
know it was a 3-hour movie. Dude, there was at one point I was like, I kind of got to pee. Like I got a lemonade when we went in. I drank the whole lemonade and I was like, oh man, now I gotta go to the bathroom.
I had some snacks in my pocket and I was like, I don't even care. I'm too locked in right now.
Oh, I was so hungry.
And we were like shoulder to shoulder packed in there.
Well, I know we come in and there's like people sitting in our seats and I was like, oh, excuse me. They were nice though. They moved over.
Yeah, we actually had a good spot. I was like, no, let's go over there. But then they moved and I was like, oh, we're like right in the middle.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was looking for on the screen when we selected the seats.
It was a good spot.
I just didn't think there'd be that many people there at like a middle of the day on a work day.
Well, I think it was hyped up. I think the people wanted to see it.
Yeah. Well, it seemed like there was a lot of retired people too.
Yeah.
That was the thing. Because we went like technically like the opening day, but like it was definitely a lot of retired people that were there.
Everybody's either going to go to church or Facebook. Oh, did you see Oppenheimer?
Okay, well also, the movie theater we went to, low-key is half church. Like it's
literally
it's Legacy Church and it's the premier Cinemark movie theater. Half of it is a church though. And I was like, I know you guys are struggling since the pandemic, but like what's going on here?
The church is there permanently, pretty much?
I think so. And the church sign is nicer. It says Legacy Church. Like really nice new sign, and then you have like Premier Cinemark. It's smaller and it's like decrepit. It's like falling apart. And I'm
That's messed up,
guys. You gotta
imagine going to church in a movie theater. It's all dark.
That'd be kind of dope though. Like maybe you get like
some
popcorn, like a hot dog, like a soda.
Nah, probably not.
Oh, I mean, why not? It is at the movie theater.
You could buy it.
Concessions.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, not for free probably, but yeah, I'd go get some concessions at a time.
Yeah, church. It's not fun at all. Did you ever go?
A handful of times. I didn't regularly go, so I don't know.
No, all the times I
heard sometimes you get like donuts though. Like I heard some Baptists be like, "Yeah, you get like donuts."
Barely ever.
And then I went to like to a Mormon one, and definitely no donuts. I think we ate Jesus and drank his blood, but that was about it.
Yeah, that's all you do.
It wasn't even wine, because we're kids, so it was like fruit juice.
Yeah, they have these weird freezers. They pop it open, and they're like, "All right, we need everybody to line up. We're gonna drink this blood." Everybody single file line, and we're all like,
and they pass around those like little cracker things.
We're like, "Wait, are you sure this is what you do at church? You drink Jesus' blood?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's cool." Did they do that at yours?
Yeah. I went to
the fridge full of blood.
I went to a Catholic church one, and I did not partake, but they were doing that. Went to another one. It was like a Hispanic Catholic church, and I was just the one doing the money collection.
Vampire Covenant
for Boy Scouts, and then the not Baptist, the Mormon church. I think I've only gone to church like 3 or 4 times.
We're so horrible. Back to Oppenheimer.
We're trying to like get people to stay with us, so that way we improve the retention rate. That's what it is.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
historically, I think it was very accurate. That's what you were asking me. I think it is very accurate to all the research I had done and the things I saw about Oppenheimer. He was a serious chain smoker. He was like skinny and malnourished. He was like cursed with knowledge, right? He was brilliant. And that's what a lot of the film is about, is like how that seriously affected his life.
You see, like, he just can't sleep. He's constantly
his relationships were in shambles. His wife and his
I don't know, mistresses.
That was all just a hot mess.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that I thought was cool was the way that they filmed everything, that they didn't need CGI.
Yeah, I found that out.
That's really impressive.
Right before we went to see it, I had heard something, there's 0 CGI. And I was like, sick.
Yeah.
Because then it's just exciting to see. Well, I know they want to do CGI equivalent type spectacular stuff, so what can they pull off in camera?
Well, like, for instance, recording a real bomb going off. I mean, that's...
Yeah, well, I need to look up how they did the B-roll of the thoughts that Oppenheimer was having.
Too, yeah.
So I think they used sick micro lenses and like zoomed in on crazy lights or like sound waves. You know, when you they have these plates where you play the sound waves and it moves sand or something like that. Or maybe it was like dust in the air with cool light.
Yeah, because if it's not CGI, I could see that they could still do it, but it's a real question of how did they
They needed some cool little light laser beam, and like they probably zoomed in on it with cool. I don't know, but there's some really cool graphics that go on screen. But the graphics are depicting Oppenheimer piecing his thoughts together about like quantum theory, and it's like weird little like electron orbits.
They start coming together as the movie like progresses. It's like,
it comes together and like the electron orbit kind of spreads out and it looks like an atom, and it's I thought it was dope. Yeah. And the music is intense. It's all
Oh yeah, I thought the music worked pretty well. Like especially when the bomb goes off and it's just like almost dead silent.
Dead silent.
And I was like, what a move.
I liked that part. I thought about that, and I talked to my mom. She saw it today, and she said she really appreciated the fact that it was so dead silent in the theater when she saw it. She's like, you could have heard a pin drop, like nobody was breathing. And I was like, oh, that's the effect Nolan wanted. He was like, we're inside Oppenheimer's point of view, so he was breathless and dead silent when he saw that thing go off. He was just captivated.
And then it's so interesting because then all of a sudden you get the sound wave that hits.
Oh, and then it comes in pretty hard.
Yeah.
It's very well done. I'm just used to action movies with the biggest, baddest, coolest shit.
Yeah, of course.
Not saying that it wasn't big and bad and cool. I feel like
it's almost like when you're watching a sci-fi movie. In many ways, this almost was like a sci-fi movie, but it's just sci-fi in the sense we've already accomplished that technology. You know what I mean? But when you're watching a sci-fi movie and, like, for instance, they're in space and there's all these sounds, well, space is dead silent.
Right. That's all for the
So viewer. I actually really appreciate in the J.J. Abrams or version of Star Trek, the new Star Trek movies, when all of a sudden people get sucked into space, it's like, whoa!
Yeah.
Just silent. And I'm like, that would make sense. That's how it's
much more immersive for me. I don't want to hear all the space junk crashing around because it's not realistic.
Yeah. But in a way, you'd almost be like, that's weird if it was Star Wars, right? Like, if you didn't have all the pew, 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 all that stuff, you'd be like, where's my sound effects? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, what else we got about Oppenheimer? How'd you feel about Robert Downey Jr.? I thought he was phenomenal.
I would have loved to actually see him when I was working on set. So that's another point to talk about, that I was background on the production, and I saw myself. I was a little blur. I was walking.
You did?
I was an Army Corps of Engineers. Yeah, I don't know if you heard me. I was telling you, but I think you were so focused on the movie.
I was like, yeah, okay.
It was like when they were setting up the Los Alamos site. You know,
Building
there's like you see them with like the chain wire. And
for the Trinity
like, literally
site.
putting up like the wood boards and everything.
Yeah.
They're like all out there. So I was filmed at Ghost Ranch here in New Mexico, which would be pretty close to the actual Trinity site. I don't know the exact correlation between Ghost Ranch and, or not correlate, but distance between the two, but it'd be pretty close. It's all northern New Mexico. So like the terrain you're seeing is more or less the same. Was cold as hell. We get out there at 5 a.m, which means we had to leave Albuquerque at 3 a.m. So I didn't sleep that night. And it was a 16-hour day. So I was very cranky. I didn't get breakfast because we were like rushed.
Oppenheimer.
They shaved us and then like cut our hair. We're in these full like World War II uniforms. And then as soon as I'm like done, I get checked in with everyone. It's like, cool, let me go eat breakfast. And they're like, we're going to set. And I'm like, son of a bitch. So we go out on set and I'm wearing boots that haven't been worn in and the train's all like uneven. So I have like blisters covering my feet and my ankles hurt. And I'm like, this isn't fun.
Welcome to the army, son.
Didn't really get breaks. We got like a lunch break, but it was like also really quick because by the time we got bused back to the camp, crew and actors eat first. So we like get in line. It's the longest line I've ever been in to get food. And like finally we get to sit down and eat. And they're like, okay, you got to go in 5 minutes. So you're like trying to like eat all your food all fast. But yeah, no. So when we got there in the morning, the ground was literally frozen.
Yeah.
And then because it's the desert, we went from freezing cold to super hot. And I was like, I didn't have enough layers in the morning. And then I had far too many layers by the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like, you couldn't balance the temperature differential. But the set was super cool. When I saw it, I was like, damn, like I feel like I'm at the Trinity site right now.
Right.
Like this is sick. I feel so immersed. I never felt that way on a set before. Normally they just go out to like a location. You're at a building or you're at like a foresty area, whatever. And then there's a couple set prop pieces, whatever. Now this is like a fully built recreation though.
So I always thought they were blowing too much money on these Hollywood pictures, but it is something to appreciate is the depth that they will go into with props and set design and all that, because it does a lot. Because it allows for, if you build the set head to toe and everything's perfect, then it allows for flexibility while you're filming. You can hit it from this angle, whatever. But then I think it's immersive for everybody on set. No, it's not like there's a cardboard on the backside. It's like, no, if everything is legit.
All the buildings.
It's 1945.
All the buildings you saw, you could walk in. They had doors that worked. There was an actual building inside. There were signs that didn't even end up in the movie. Like you'd see it like on the side of the building or something.
But it's there, right?
Like
that's
it's
what I mean.
all there.
Like
they might not have captured it in a shot, but like it was.
They have all that shit there just in case.
And it's not even like it's like you're saying. It's not like on one side it's set up, because depending on where you are on the set, technically the other side of the set had to be good too, because they were doing shots behind as well as in the center of the town. They called it like the little town. So it was literally like a full 360 building.
Exactly. They want flexibility to go anywhere.
When we first get out there, we're filming the first shot, which is the one I'm talking about. So in the shot, it's like them next to like this old like World War II Jeep, and you see people like carrying like big wood boards. I'm carrying like a toolbox. And then they have snow going because it's supposed to be like during wintertime. Now, the way they get snow is they literally had ash. So they were burning something and it was creating ash. And you literally see these PAs just like wafting it. And there's like 2 or 3 of them just like behind the cameras, just like walking back and forth. And it literally looked like snow. Was
it an IMAX camera?
Yeah.
Did it sound like a lawnmower?
Oh, you could hear it.
It was loud as fuck.
And then it would stop, and then it'd be like, okay, hold on, and it'd be like 2 minutes later, they're like switching out like the film and everything.
Yeah, it was loud.
Oh, it was, because I was not close to the camera. I was far away from the camera.
So it's either no audio or they put that thing in a fucking sound box, right?
Something.
Pretty sure they have this little sound box that they stick that thing in.
I didn't see it in the sound box though, but maybe if it was more of an intricate shot.
Well, the audio is probably done.
Like the ones that we were doing was like people driving up to the camp.
All that audio is put in after.
What's the actor that played Oppenheimer? I'm forgetting his name now.
Cillian Murphy.
So he's on horseback.
Cillian?
I think it's Cillian. Pretty sure it's Cillian. Whatever his name is. So he's riding on horseback, right? That's another one. So it's like, but these big shots though. Anytime they were using that IMAX camera, the actual film camera,
Yeah.
it was always when it was like far away.
Which I think was they used the IMAX camera for like 90% of the film or anything, something like that.
But I think when they were doing the like actual, we're inside of a room, I think that's when they weren't doing it. I think that's
because it's almost unusable. Yeah.
But I think a lot of the shots they did both, because I definitely saw several cameras.
Oh, really?
But they only had the one IMAX camera. And then for the more intricate shots, I think they were just doing digital cameras. So the other thing I wanted to hit on real quick, and then if you want to add anything else. So there's the line in the movie, which is a direct quote from Oppenheimer, and it says, "I am become death, destroyer of worlds." Now, this is a very famous quote from him.
Right, but it's not his quote.
It actually comes from India, from...
Is it from
I found out I had the book. I actually had the book.
Text?
Yeah, sort of. So it's sort of like that, like early Hindu stuff. So there's like the Vedic text and stuff like that. So this one is called the, I'm probably going to say it wrong, Bhagavad Gita, I believe is how you say it. This traveling Hindu was at my college, UNM, and just randomly was like, "Can I preach to you about Hinduism?" Right? If it was a Christian, I'm sorry. I'm like, dude, I don't got time. But I'm like, "You want to preach to me about Hinduism?" Yes, I'm interested, because this is probably the only time in my life this is ever going to happen. And this man gave me a book.
Dude, go to California.
He literally was just like, "Here you go." Like, just gave me the book for free. And then I gave him money, because I could tell, I was like, this guy looks broke, and he's just like giving out free books. But I was like, what a guy.
Weird. At the campus?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So let's see. I have the specific.
So what about the quote? What's up with it?
Sections. So it's mistranslated. Oppenheimer mistranslated it. So it's not that Christopher Nolan mistranslated it. It's that Oppenheimer did, and he just did a direct quote. So I wanna add a little bit more before we get to the specific quote. Let's see, 439. So what's interesting is in here we have like this god and this human that are friends, and they're talking. I had to like read the whole chapter because like out of context I didn't understand what the line meant if I just read it really by itself. So he's referring to his friend. So I believe this is talking about Krishna, I think is the god in reference, but I don't remember anymore. So this is the human talking to him, his friend. "If hundreds of thousands of suns were to rise at once into the sky, their radiance might resemble the effigy of the supreme person in the universal form." Obviously bright, godly, basically saying like, you're like 1,000 suns. But what does that sound like too? Like a nuclear bomb going off. It's so bright that they have to wear those glasses, the welder's glasses. So it's like,
yeah, well, I'm sure that's why he chose it. No, well,
I maybe, but I don't know.
Well,
if it is or not, you know,
I don't know. It helps.
But I just thought that was interesting. Now, clearly, he knows a lot about it, so he very well might have had that kind of in mind. So then we also have this part right here.
He was very well versed.
"O Lord of the universe, O universal form, I see your body, many, many arms, bellies, mouth, and eyes expanded everywhere without limit." Kind of sounds like the Tao, right? This like big universal thing. "I see you, no end, no middle, no beginning." So I just thought that was an interesting correlation to what we talked about last episode with like the Tao is this whole like infinite thing. But obviously in Hinduism, a lot of times it's these like multi-armed, multi-faced things, right? So now we get to the quote itself. So he asked him, "O Lord of Lords, so fierce of form, please tell me who you are. I offer my obedience unto you. Please be gracious to me. You are the primal Lord. I want to know who you, for I do not know what your mission is." And this is his response. "The Supreme Personality of Godhead said," here's the quote, as it's more directly translated, "Time I am, the great destroyer of the worlds, and I have come here to destroy all people, with the exception of you. All the soldiers here on both sides will be slain." So the more direct quote is actually "Time I am," or in this case, "I am time." He's not saying I am death. He's saying I am time, the great destroyer of all worlds. And if you think about it, time will destroy everything no matter what.
I was going to say, what is death? Time.
And I have come here to destroy all people.
Time is death.
So it's interesting.
I think it's an intentional translation.
I was
reading. He's a smart guy.
Yes, yeah. No, I don't. I was reading.
But
this
who did
guy
he quote
who was
that to? Like, who wrote it down?
Was in an interview after.
Okay,
it was like years later. But it was an interview with him, and it was kind of like, this was my thought at the time. So did he actually have that thought running through his mind as he's watching the Trinity explosion go off? I don't know. But that's basically what he said in the interview. Is this was the quote that went through my head.
I thought I bet he had a billion thoughts rolling through his mind. The movie didn't depict it like that, but
no, yeah.
I can only imagine he's running calculations, being like, okay, cool. Okay, I see. Okay, like.
Oh, of course, yeah. But there's this mythologist, like someone who specializes in like Hindu ancient scripture and stuff, and he was like, it seems like he took his Judeo-Christian background and sort of just supplanted that on Hinduism, because Hinduism does not have that same concept of like sin and God's gonna like smite you. Not that there's not a destroyer, like Shiva is like the destroyer, but it's just like there's this aspect of like he probably took his own personal background, right, and then just kind of put it on top of that one. But I do think it's interesting that he sort of created his own quote in a way, and if anything, it's more famous than maybe the original quote.
You have to.
And it speaks volumes. We understand what he's saying when he says that. I am death, destroyer of worlds. He's implying like I just created the most destructive thing in human history.
You have to shorthand everything or it won't sell. It won't stick.
Yeah.
It's Hollywood, baby. What else you got on Oppenheimer? What did you think?
I think the big thing for me was the way that they told the story really wasn't so much about we're telling the story of Oppenheimer as like there's like this I don't know, trial wouldn't be the right word, but deciding if he's going to be allowed to keep his security clearance / then you also have this like congressional committee meeting, so trials in a sense, right? That's how we're telling the story. It's almost like here's these two trials that are going on, and through these trials is how we're going to tell the story of Oppenheimer. I thought that was an interesting approach.
Yeah, it was very interesting. It was very entertaining. But I thought it dragged out a little bit. I was more.
And then you're jumping around a lot was a part of the thing too.
Oh, tons of jumping around. But he helps with. You can tell by some older scenes are in black and white, or all that stuff with Robert Downey Jr. It's in black and white. Their hair kept changing, so if it was time period, it was like super obvious.
Yeah,
like older makeup.
When you have like
younger makeup.
One of the last scenes where he's supposed to be much older. And
he was way older.
Everyone else that was working on the project is like much older. And I thought they did pretty good with that. It was also interesting seeing him younger because they tried to depict him like as like an early college student. I was like, he still looks a little bit too old, but like it works.
Yeah.
Like I see they tried.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not going to CGI, you can only do so much.
So with Robert Downey Jr., his character, I thought it was awesome how at the beginning they painted him to be a protagonist. Right? Like he was helping Oppenheimer, or he was like, cool, like, hey man, come to this college. You want to go talk to Einstein? He's over there. Here's your office. Everything's cool. And at the end of the movie,
I love that.
He was a fucking prick.
The
whole time.
I just want to know what he said to Einstein about me. What did he say? And then you have that person, and he's like, did you think maybe there's things other than you that they might have been talking about?
Yeah, I thought that was a good.
I loved that.
I was like, yeah, fuck you.
And then finally in the end, we won't give spoilers, but they finally show you the conversation that happens. And I'm like, yeah. I also thought it was interesting their dynamic.
Chain reaction.
Actually, between Oppenheimer and Einstein. I feel like I spent so long in my life thinking that Einstein worked on the Manhattan Project. It wasn't until more recently I finally
he was
realizing that he didn't. And it was that like line in the movie too where it was like someone literally brought it up. They're like, well, why didn't you have Einstein working on it? He's like the greatest mind of our generation. He's like, he's the greatest mind of his generation.
Right. And he's like retired.
Yeah. Well, and he didn't even want to help him with the calculations on, hey, do you think the nuke might maybe blow up the whole planet? And he's like, you keep that paper. He even tried to leave it with them. He tried to leave it with them, and he was like, no, this is your paper. You forgot it. I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I just think a little
Pretty good
long.
over.
I think that's the only thing.
It was long.
I think it could have fit in like a 2.5 hour
So-
movie, but
The Oppenheimer, it wasn't a trial. It was like some special counsel to figure out if the government's gonna allow him to
to have a
keep
security
his
clearance.
top security clearance. So they were just in a small room. Robert Downey Jr.'s character picked all these guys, which we didn't find out to the end,
Yeah,
to just grill Oppenheimer, his friends, his
and
family,
it's more or less a
all these people, and it gets terribly awkward. Oppenheimer will be sitting right behind this person who's giving a testimony about him, and they'll just like reveal a little white lie or something, a touchy subject.
Oh my god,
And
the one
Oppenheimer's
that
just
got
sitting
me
there in
though.
the back, just taking
Dude, no,
it
the
off.
one that got me is when his wife was sitting there and he's talking about the affair, and they literally like had him just fully naked, and I was like, oh man! And then next thing you know, the woman he's having the affair with, they're like having sex in front of everyone, and I was like,
And that was to symbolize
Whoa.
his vulnerability in that spot.
exactly.
Everything is right there on the line.
And you have the mistress like just staring right into her eyes, and
It made me very anxious.
Oh yeah, that's
When
like
he was sitting
uncomfortable.
behind the people testifying, I was incredibly anxious. Like that's why I didn't.
And you could see it on.
That's
him.
why I didn't eat. I was
You
always
could see
like,
it on
man,
him,
it's
yeah.
too much.
Mm,
It was good. If a movie makes you feel something,
yeah,
then it's working.
yeah.
You know, it's good. Very
That
good.
was good, very good. I just think the only thing for me is wasn't fun working for Christopher Nolan as background. So hopefully maybe I can work with him as an actual speaking role actor one of these days.
Nolan,
Just treat your background a little bit better, buddy. I mean, I'm just going to be honest.
treat all background better. Let's segue into our next segment, I guess. Let's just hit on.
The SAG actors.
You got any updates? Have you heard anything?
You know, I haven't. I talked to one of my
Still
friends
going on.
who is
No
a
resolutions.
SAG actor, and I was curious if he had a little bit more input, and pretty much just the same things that we've heard, that it's the AI taking over actors' job, the AI taking over the writers and everyone else, and
That is
then also
such
trying to make sure
bullshit.
that you're getting your royalties on everything. I don't know if they're going to come to terms on that, but I think it's going to be fixed sooner for the actors than it would have just for the writers. That's the only thing I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You know? But
they
just as
need-
a side note, if anyone is looking to cast actors, we're right here. We're not SAG, so we could do a SAG production, and we're not breaking any union policy.
We ain't SAG. We GSP. We're ready
But
to go.
you know what? In the meantime, we'll just start writing some scripts, making shorts, and maybe make a web series.
Dude, I have a couple ideas that come and go, but I'm trying to write a solid piece for a comedy sketch. We need like 100 on paper, and we just need to start
Yeah,
acting them
bang
out.
for sure.
So that'd be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. Do you have any ideas for a character segment today?
So I put a note on here, sorry, side note, that says 2 photos on camera reel, and I don't know what the photos are. So I'm like, what did I put that I needed to look at?
So we have a
on here?
mystery surprise segment coming.
Oh, here's one. That's not one. What is... Oh!
Dude,
I
you know,
remember.
I don't want to see your
You do wanna
fucking taint.
You want to see. Okay. Let me show you. So, I don't know if this is going to bring you back or not. And then we could pop it up right here so you guys can see what's happening.
Back when McDonald's had Nintendo 64 in them was the peak of humanity. The good old days starter pack.
So I just want to point out that is definitely before my time. I don't remember that.
You don't?
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't.
I've talked about this at length with lots of people. Like at Starbucks, you'd be like, man, do you remember when they had the video games at McDonald's?
I don't know. Sorry, you're a millennial. I'm a Gen Z, so...
Fuck. You did this on purpose to
Yeah, I don't know that
make me look like an old man.
You look like an old man.
Dude, you guys, help me out here. Comment down below. Did you play video games at McDonald's? I for sure did. I 100% did for years.
Okay, so this one is fun.
And they had cooler updated ones. It was like a Super Nintendo and a Game Boy.
So this
It wasn't
is
just Nintendo
on,
64. It was cool.
This is on Twitter. We have Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he's commenting about the newest Halo video game, and he says,
Yeah.
so in Halo, a Hold on, I lost it. A small attaching grappling hook is able to launch a 1,000 kilogram suit of armor onto a 150 kilogram alien without moving it. This simply wouldn't be possible in real life. So in the game, you have like a grappling
It's a
thing.
fucking game.
You can basically shoot it and like grab a person or like a wall. But in this case, let's say you like grappling onto a person and it's going to like literally pull you into them, but they don't move is what he's saying. Right? So then Halo, the official Halo, responded on their Twitter.
Yeah. What'd they say? Who gives a fuck?
Just read it.
Should have been shoved into more lockers in high school. That's what I'm saying right now.
I saw that and I was like, that's too
Do you have to give the most Neil deGrasse Tyson response to every fucking thing? You can't just let a video game do its fucking thing.
Let a video game be a video game.
God. Okay, did you get that link I sent you before this?
Oh, yes.
You want to hit that? What else we got? Say we're almost done.
This is the UFO one?
Yeah, let's just just let it run. Fuck it. Let it play. You can comment over it.
If there's going to be an ad or if it's going to go straight into it.
So there's a lot of exciting UFO news. The Pentagon is always releasing things. We have a U.S. Air Force pilot saying there's some shit going on.
Here first on News Nation, now UFO whistleblower David Grush will take the stand on Capitol Hill. He is set to testify at the House Oversight Committee's hearing next week. Grush is the former Air Force officer and high-ranking intelligence official who set those investigations into motion. He gave News Nation an exclusive interview about what he calls a secret government program that retrieves craft of non-human origin.
You are saying
It's gotta be.
to the human race, for the first time, an official intelligence representative at a high level from the US government is saying publicly, we are not alone.
We're definitely not alone. Absolutely, the data points empirically that we're not alone, yeah.
Grush will be joined by two other witnesses, including...
Okay, pause it right there. So, he's going to be joined by Commander David Fravor. He's a retired Navy commander. I'm sure everybody on the internet knows David Fravor has one of the most believable, like backed up UFO
I don't know.
stories.
What is his
It's
story?
called The Pill.
What's The Pill?
You never heard of The Pill?
Tell me about The Pill.
He
I don't know
saw
what The Pill is.
a device, it looks like, or the Tic Tac. You ever heard of the Tic Tac UFO?
No.
This fucking guy lives under a rock like Patrick the Star. So the the Tic Tac UFO is a reported David Fravor and whatever pilots he was with that day. They have this thing on video and radar. It's moving around like crazy. So like they're doing a regular radius as a plane would, and they're trying to track this thing, and they're like doing a huge downward spiral. They can only turn so sharply. Like it takes them tens and dozens of miles to turn, you know? But this thing is going...
Oh, you know what? You did tell me about this. You did tell me about this.
And they have it on video, and he said he looked like a white Tic Tac flying around, and the way it moved means that it has like technology that is not from this world.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of reports about crafts like that. Tons of the UFOs are some kind of weird craft moving in these weird
irregular
patterns. So another thing, Bob Lazar, just as credible as David Fravor, he worked on Area S4, which is adjacent to Area 51. He worked there back in the 80s, and they hired him to reverse engineer these recovered UFO crafts.
Oh.
So they had like dozens of teams set up because they had dozens of crafts. But he was only working on one craft in one little hangar at one specific time with one specific dude, and he wasn't allowed to converse with this team. You can't look at that. No, you can't fucking touch that. You can't look at... It was like super strict. And he thought it was restricting the process of science. And
this sounds just like Oppenheimer, though.
Obviously, yeah.
Because that's exactly what they were complaining about in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
How are we supposed to do this if you have one team working on this section?
Science
and us
requires
working on this
collaboration.
Yeah.
So anyway, he was working on these badass UFOs. He he's got his story is out there. I've listened to it a million times, but it's extremely credible. And then everybody else who worked for the government and comes out and leaks these things, it's exactly like what Bob Lazar was saying. It's exactly like what Commander David Fravor was saying, and now David Grush is saying the same fucking thing that they're saying, and everybody's like, "Yep, we knew it."
It's almost interesting too, then, because it's like, is some of the stuff all happening more recently, or is the government
going on for a lot since Roswell?
Wraps, you know.
So from what I understand, we probably had stuff before this, but Roswell was a huge, significant event in which the U.S. government was like, "We got some
Also,
shit
point
here,
out
boys."
Roswell, New Mexico again, right?
Yeah.
New Mexico's important twice as
Well,
much.
that's new. That's the New Mexico's only two things of
I know.
fame it has attached to it is nuclear
Aliens
bomb and
the
aliens.
nuclear bomb. Yeah.
And to put her back together since the late 1960s.
Don't tell me you've had this for 40 years and you don't know anything about him.
We also, for some reason, shoot off a lot of hot air balloons.
Hot air
every
balloons and green
fall.
chili, but nobody even knows what those are.
Yeah. So with that one, with the Roswell one, actually, I was hearing a story from someone. So my parents are from Roswell. They were born and raised there. There was this sheriff who went out to the site, and now he got there before the feds did, right? Because he was out in whatever that county is. It might
Of
be
the
Roswell
crash
County,
site
but
back
like
in
that area.
47?
So of course they called the sheriff's department, and they're like, "Okay, we'll get out there and go check on whatever the hell that was." And he shows up, and I think another sheriff even showed up there before all the federal agents did, or the military, whoever finally like put it under wraps. And he definitely was like, they're saying it was a weather balloon, but that was not a weather balloon. Like, I'm just telling you right now. Like,
I think I've seen that on History Channel or something.
like it's
Is
not,
that like a Roswell story? People are like,
a couple people in
fucking
Roswell know
sheriff
about
is like,
that. Yeah.
it ain't weather balloon.
Yeah, like, and he had like pieces of it and stuff like that, and he's like, "This is not man-made."
Well, so there's been probably dozens, hundreds of Roswells all across the world. Every government has a craft.
they're equivalent.
So this is what other people, and I think David Grush might have mentioned this, that dude, there's so much to this. I could go on and on down this fucking wormhole through the universe. Every government of the world has some type of recovered craft, and that could be from a crash site. Some of them are from an archaeological dig site. So straight up, like fucking Indiana Jones, we've dug out a flying saucer and be like, "Oh,
there you go,
add it to the collection." So they have a bunch, and they're trying to just reverse engineer. But so the thing is, with the technology, with these, what we kind of know what it is, but we can't reverse engineer it. It's an anti-gravity machine where it basically makes a dip in gravity right in front, or in whatever direction the craft wants to propel. It makes a dip in the web of gravity right in front of that. But it also bends light. So if you're like standing right underneath it, it looks invisible, or it looks like warped and weird. That's what they say. So all the governments of the world have, supposedly, I think they have extraterrestrial crafts. And then there's sort of secretly, it's not like some big crazy thing going.
I'm gonna have to look into this a little bit more, but my mom was talking to me about it, and I guess as we're entering this new level of heat and all the ice is melting, all this layer of ice in Antarctica is starting to defrost. There's this massive complex under it, like a building, structure, city, whatever it is. It's massive.
I'm down.
Now, here's the thing that's interesting.
Is it human or not?
It was on Google Maps. Their little Google satellite was getting pictures, and you could go check on it however often they update Google Maps. And then all of a sudden, it's just a blank space. You can't see it. Sometimes Google does that with like military facilities and stuff like that.
Yeah, like it's probably military.
But in the middle of Antarctica, it's now blacked out. And I'm like, what the hell is there? Because at first you could see it on Google Maps. People started seeing it, and they're like, what the hell is that? And then there was actually,
this might be more conspiracy
like
than what I'm even talking about, bro.
Like two groups that went out there. But no, I don't think it is. Because you could see it on Google Maps. And then all of a sudden it disappeared. But two groups went out there to try to go find whatever it was. And then
I don't think hardly
and I'm not
anybody's
saying
ever
that,
been to the South Pole.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know that the people that went out there went missing because the government kidnapped them or anything.
Well, you'll die.
But if anything, I was
you
gonna say
can't
it's
just
probably too cold.
All right, let's do an expedition to the South Pole. It's like worse than Mount Everest.
But my
You'll
thought
fucking
on
die.
it is either A, you could think it could be like aliens, or B, I'm thinking back to our Ancient Apocalypse episode, the Joe Rogan one, where it's like, where did Atlantis go? Where was this big, massive civilization? Maybe it was actually there. Maybe it's underneath Antarctica now.
It could be, but the poles have always been there.
No, that's true. But the ice definitely got bigger and grew over.
So there could have been a good sized landmass there that has been overtaken by ice, you think?
I think something like that. Well, and Antarctica isn't like the
It
North
is
Pole.
actually massive.
The North Pole, right, is literally
So who
just
knows?
a floating thing of ice. There's nothing under it. Whereas Antarctica,
it's land.
If you have the technology, you just dig through the ice. Yeah, there's dirt, there's ground. It's a
so
continent.
it's not just a huge ice shelf. There is a continent.
It is a continent. So conceivably, there could be a structure there. I'm not even saying that there wasn't ice there. They could have literally dug through the ice, built a structure, and then let the ice reform over it and then abandoned it or whatever. Or maybe the ice during the last ice age overtook it, whatever that looks like.
Sure.
And now it's melting, and we never realized it was there because there was, however many, I don't know, feet, meters, miles of ice, and now it's all melted. So now all of a sudden it's visible from space, apparently, with a satellite. And the thing is, it's not accessible.
I'd have to do some more research about
but it sounds
what
like
they know about Antarctica.
Some countries, because a lot of the major countries have their little slice of pizza on the Antarctica map. So I think it's a race to see who's going to get there first. Is it going to be like Russia or China, the U.S., someone else?
Race to where? To find this?
They're trying to figure out what's
thing?
going to be there once it finally melts enough for us
What's
to
under the
access
ice?
it. Yeah. We'll find out, I guess.
There's definitely life, too. Still.
What do you mean?
They've drilled. They went really far into, like, a couple 100 miles in there, and they're drilling down samples.
Mm-hmm.
But they get through ice, and there's, like, water in there, and there's stuff swimming around.
Oh, yeah.
There's, creatures and fish.
Bacteria will survive.
There's
fish, though? That's
decent little There's stuff.
Interesting.
It was crazy. They, weren't expecting it, and then they found it.
Okay, so same vein, but probably less alien-y.
Wait, one more thing.
You hit it.
That I was supposed to add. The governments of the world are apparently in a race to reverse engineer the UFOs.
Of course.
The quickest. That's totally plausible, right?
That makes total sense. Like, if that were to happen, if a country were to get
then
one,
obviously,
why would they not?
Why would you not want
100%.
that technology first?
That makes sense.
But do you think
just like Independence Day? Did you watch the old Independence Day?
Yeah, it's a great fucking movie.
And it'd be like, oh yeah, we've had known about the aliens since Roswell, and then all of a sudden Independence Day shows up, and they're like, why didn't you tell anyone?
Exactly.
The president didn't even know.
So with this thing, it's Commander David Fravor, David Grush, and a bunch of people are testifying to Congress or whatever to say, hey, start releasing more information and let's be more transparent about this UFO stuff.
Because then you can get some scientists on it. And
yeah, but it's public figures, like politicians are like, fucking tell. I want to know. My voters want to know. Like, come on, dude. Why is it going to be a secret? Unless it's a matter of national security, tell us about the fucking aliens.
For sure.
The more we know, the more we can prepare. I just think it's like a start of the next phase of civilization is to learn about new civilizations. And it's like, we need to add to our textbooks, let's grow. I want to know about the aliens.
Oh God. Okay. Speaking of textbooks, I don't
species.
remember which state it was, but I think it was definitely one of the ones in the South that had slavery back in the day.
Oh.
And they put in their new history textbook that the slaves weren't slaves. They were like apprentices. We were teaching them how to farm and how to pick cotton and how to serve people. And I'm like, just don't even talk about slavery then. Like, if you're going to just lie about it, just don't even talk about it.
Nice
guys.
try, buddy. No, not nice try.
Oh my God.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm like, either just tell the truth or just maybe just avoid it altogether. Right? You're just talking about the history and then there were slaves. And then let's just skip over it, right? Like, whatever.
Since you're my history guy, I do have a history question. You ready?
Hit it. Then I want to go back to the pyramids.
We're watching Bridgerton. It's 1813.
Mm-hmm.
black people in society in England at this time, it seems completely different from America.
It is. It was.
Like 1,000,000%.
Mhm.
And I didn't really make this connection before because I don't know a lot about the United Kingdom history. But they were like high society just as much as the white people. And I'm like, at this same time in America, it was like not cool. You know?
Yeah. Well, no, that's pretty accurate.
Wow.
I mean, by like 1813, you probably would have had some African Americans in the northern United States who could have gotten there. It would have still been hard. It would have been near impossible in the South, though. But England actually,
the Queen was black.
Stopped liking slavery. They were like, let's not do slavery anymore.
What year was that?
Even before the U.S. wanted to. I don't know the official year, but even before it got banned, England just didn't want to do it anymore. Like it was kind of frowned upon. Like colonial.
They probably grew out of it, and
they're kind of like, I guess we'll let our
workers.
colonies have slavery, but the people back in England did not want to have slavery.
I don't think it works for the economy. Yeah.
So I think for them, it was kind of more taboo. You know,
Right.
I'm not saying that they would have been like, if they visited the United States, like, oh my God, I can't believe you guys have slaves. I'm sure they were very aware it was happening and it was part of society. But I think for them back in England,
they also
weren't going to bat an eye
right?
if someone was walking around with money that was black. I don't think they really.
No, but I'm saying the Queen was black, and like there was the Duke.
The Queen
is black.
What Queen was black?
The one in Bridgerton, fucking
In
Charlotte.
1813?
Charlotte.
There was a black queen?
Charlotte.
I think
Something.
there's ever been a black queen. Am I wrong? I don't know.
Well, then I'm asking you: is Bridgerton full of it, or was there a black queen in
I don't
1813
think
named
there was
Charlotte?
ever a black queen.
Well, there's a
Because
second show about her.
It's been the same dynastic royal line for England for several generations now. So 1813, we still have the same royal family that we have now, and they're like the pastiest motherfuckers. So I don't know.
It was Charlotte and Philip or something. Dude, we're gonna have to. Okay, I got homework now.
That I don't know.
Like Bridgerton, are you lying to me?
Oh, but you know what was really interesting for me was finding out in history that Spanish America and just like Spain in general treated women very differently than like English America and England did. So the concepts that we have of history of like women are less, they don't really own property, they're pretty much just belong to a husband. Like that's very English.
Bridgerton, basically.
But if you look at Spain, especially their legal records, women were fucking equal, dude. They could own property and they would sue their husbands. They'd be like, you took my money and you spent it on gambling. That's my money. You owe me money now. Right?
I own half of
you
the
would not have
farm.
gotten that.
You gambled your fucking shit. Wow.
And if a husband were to blow all their money and not have money, it was not the wife's responsibility to be like, oh, well, I have you. You know, we're not marrying for love at this time. Let's keep that in mind a lot of times.
Have you seen Bridgerton at all?
I've not.
Dude, you should watch it. It's actually really good.
Because there was like this case we looked at in my Latin American history class, and it was this guy who like got married to this woman that he did not want to get married to, and he wanted the dowry and took it, right? And then moved to, so this was in Spain, and then he like moves over to somewhere in Latin America, and then like meets this new woman and basically just like wants to be with her. But he doesn't officially like divorce her and kind of like marries this new woman. And then she sues him for the dowry. And she's like, I want my money back. And he just kind of played dead for a while. And then finally it's like, you have people showing up and they're like, no, like you got to go to court. You can't play dead anymore. So then he takes it. This is the crazy part. He takes it to the Pope. He goes back to Europe. Goes to the Vatican. Imagine what a G. It's like going straight to the Supreme Court over like a divorce case.
Yeah.
But like the religious equivalent, right?
Yeah.
Goes to the Pope and he presents his case. And his case was, well, I didn't sleep with her, so we didn't consummate the marriage. And she's like, motherfucker, you did sleep with me. And he's like, can't prove it.
That's Bridgerton rules too. Dude, you would love Bridgerton. Me and Alyssa are so into it right now.
It's so wild.
It's wild to think about. And they're just so, it's so normal for them.
Oh yeah, I know.
It's crazy. How they're just like, yeah, fucking wench. You know? It's like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just like dropping the N-word. Like,
servant
right?
bitch.
They would just say like, whatever. Yeah, I know. Society's just changed. Like certain things that were appropriate just aren't. And it's interesting because now it's like, I can't believe people would say that. But at the time, that was just a norm, you know?
You
Pyramids,
missed out.
though.
Matt, no, I'm just kidding.
Pyramids. So, for a long time, well, let me ask you, how do you think that they built the pyramids? And I don't mean like, do you think aliens were involved? I just mean like the physical act of like, there's bricks, right? How did they get the bricks there? That's what I'm asking.
Wet sand. Well, if we're saying there did not have any sort of ancient technology, then I think I've seen stuff. There is physical, primitive methods like using physics. So like logs, sand, animals, manpower,
boats,
all of the above.
So what I had
every fucking thing they could.
What I had leveraged for a long time was that, of course, we're talking about like using like copper. They had like bronze and copper to try to cut through granite, and we have quarries that have cut marks, you know, at like 90 degrees. Obviously, it's not going to form naturally, and then we can presume like, oh, well, they were taking the granite from here. It's right next to a river. They put it on a boat, probably rolling it on logs or whatever, and then they get it to wherever and roll it up on more logs, and there you go.
Even then, though, it's
here's
like
the interesting
astronomically
thing.
difficult.
My mom was talking about this archaeologist she's been watching, and they did a drill sample. They finally got Egypt to let them drill into it, straight into the granite on one of the Great Pyramids.
Okay.
They took out the core sample. There was hair in it. Human hair. Human hair does not naturally occur in granite. How would you get human hair in granite? But what is a granite? How do you make a granite countertop? Modern day. Do you know? If not, I'll tell you.
Are they sort of gluing together ground up pieces, or are they slicing it?
No, you base it. Well, you could slice it potentially, but this is what I'm talking about.
Like,
it's like a broken up version.
Yeah.
And you get a mold.
Okay.
And you set it inside of a mold.
Okay.
And now they're realizing that's how they built the pyramids. It's a big ass mold. And then another mold.
And
another mold.
Into a mold. Yeah. So how'd they fucking get liquid cement granite?
I don't know, because that's the next question. But you cannot have human hair inside of a naturally formed granite deposit.
A few feet in?
That's not going to happen.
From how many millions of years ago?
Not going to happen. So it has to be a mold. I'm not saying all of them, because there are those cut marks. So maybe some of the early pyramids or something were cut. But it sounds like maybe as time went on, they were like, hey, you know what's easier? Just mold it. But that still begs the question of how did they do that? That seems like pretty advanced method to be able to build.
So I think, wow, I don't know. The sheer like volume and the size of the bricks and the fucking angle of the steepness of the pyramid, it seems so difficult and unlikely that they could get those things even up there. I think they had some sort of technology.
Something.
I don't know how it works, but it's probably
the mold
to do
almost
with
makes more sense. If you have the ability
magnetic field
to create the mold, a molding for it, it would make it a lot easier to start building it step by step. You know what I mean?
Well, then you could almost just mold them in place.
Exactly. No, like right.
Send the materials.
So I don't know how they're doing it, and I'm not saying maybe that's the correct answer. We might even just stumble upon something else.
You have given me much to think about, young Padawan.
But it is interesting, huh?
I will be on YouTube all night.
Let me look at some of our other stuff. Let's see what else we had.
What else we got? I might be able to call it, dude. I'm melting.
So just 2 more things, and I figure we can do the other stuff I wanted to do next episode. But India launched a moon rover 2 days ago.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to wait to hit on that, but let's just hit on that. They launched...
It might have been more than...
Well, I don't have my numbers right. I don't have my numbers right. So I'll throw it up on screen about when they're going to land on the moon and when the rover should be operational. But as of right now, it was 8 days ago, they launched the rocket from Earth, headed towards the moon.
Cool.
So I think it has to do a bunch of like intricate orbiting stuff to get into the right spot. And they're doing probably testing. I don't know, but I thought I saw 20 or 30 days or something like that until it was landing. So it's supposed to land.
Far. It takes a little time.
No, it's only a 3-day trip. So they're doing
why are they taking so much extra time then?
That's what I mean. My numbers are off. The correct things are on here. Forget what I say.
So
the cool thing
I assume you know this. India's been to the moon already.
Right. Chandrayaan 2.
And
This
is
3.
Brought tardigrades with them. There were
That
no
was them?
tardigrades on the moon.
Oh, that was China.
In India, I'm pretty sure it was India.
India did it.
India brought
Are they still
tardigrades
there?
to the moon. Well, yeah, they're going to be there forever and always until someone does something with them. But they're frozen. That's the thing. Tardigrades can survive in space, but they freeze.
Okay.
And then as soon as they're back in like a normal environment, they're going to start moving around
That's
again.
that worm teddy bear, ugly looking.
And the
thing.
crazy thing is, they could be there for like the next 100 years, is my understanding.
Sick.
And they're just going to be chilling.
So the operation is the rover retrieves the tardigrades. It's going to inject the ancient human DNA retrieved from the granite hair sample. And then there's going to be an advanced species.
Did you see the experiment that was done on 2 tardigrades? So they tried, well, it might have been more than 2, but specifically they got it to work with 2 of them. They were trying to do quantum entanglement. I assume you're somewhat familiar with that.
Ant-Man.
I don't want to try to break down quantum entanglement on the podcast. Go look it up if you don't know what it is, because I'm not a physicist. But you're essentially
So what do you mean?
able to link them together. So this would be the weird part about it. If you had 2 things that had quantum entanglement to each other, when one's moving, the other one's moving.
Superposition.
But we're talking about like,
that's
I
quantum
could be
theory.
here on Earth, you could be in the Andromeda galaxy, or even farther, and you could still move it. So this actually, for me, would be how we could maybe figure out more information about what happens with a black hole. You take one item that is quantumly entangled to another item, and you send that one into a black hole, and then you see what happens to this one, because we can't find out what happens to that one.
So then,
but what happens to
now?
this
How
one?
do we translate data and information from whatever quantum entanglement connection?
Yeah.
How does that translate into data for us? Well,
that would be one potential way. Now, I mean, potentially,
we could go to anything,
anywhere. Maybe the black hole breaks
It's
the
just a
quantum
matter of
entanglement.
time.
Maybe we find out that a black hole is so strong that it breaks it, but I don't think it would. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But they did it with 2 tardigrades. They wanted to see.
black hole might fuck everything up.
And they actually like killed the first batch just trying to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had 2 of them that they actually got quantumly entangled. And then they got rid of it. I don't even know how you go about entangling 2 things like that, but they did. And then they were trying to undo it, and they both died in the process of trying to bring it back.
Dang.
But they did it. So 2 living animals. I mean, tardigrades, if you think about it, are essentially microscopic little bugs in a way.
It's multicellular. It's got...
And they survived being quantumly entangled. So we now know that a living being can be quantumly entangled.
So...
But we haven't figured out how to get them back, and we also know that tardigrades are far more resistant than most species.
Right. But imagine like what it does on your psychology.
Oh God, who knows?
And your brain.
Yeah.
Like, well, if you're quantumly entangled,
I don't even want to
something
imagine.
else.
I have no idea.
Does everybody know everything about one another?
Who knows?
And then
maybe this is the trick to figuring out how we're going to have like universal consciousness. I don't know.
Universal consciousness, a hive mind.
The Borg.
The Borg.
And then you had one more point.
What else?
Tucker Carlson and Andrew Tate. I don't know about this one, so I'm curious.
I was going to say next to that one.
Oh, just don't talk about it? We're already here, so tell me, what happened?
Tucker Carlson had Andrew Tate on whatever. I don't think it's not Fox News, his own show.
He has his own show now.
Podcast.
He got like kicked off Fox.
Oh, about fucking time. Yeah. I fucking hate Tucker Carlson.
Too.
He's just like so snooty and toxic.
I know.
And then I saw a video of him. Some guy walked up to him, New York City. He was fishing in Central Park. Tucker Carlson was. And I was just like, I watched it. I was glued to it, but I was just like, hate watching it.
So wait, so he had Andrew Tate on his show?
I don't know. He had Andrew Tate on his show, and he essentially didn't grill him at all. Didn't ask him any fucking good, relevant questions. Didn't ask him anything about what's happening with Morania. What's this and that. Like, he just let him slide under the rug and give him a platform. He platformed him. And people were mad about it. I haven't watched it. I just watched the reaction to it, a couple of reactions, and I was just like, ugh.
Yeah.
So it's worth looking into, I guess, if you want to see how much of a shitbag Tucker Carlson is. And we should know already Andrew Tate's a shitbag.
Yeah. But maybe not on that show. Maybe he looked pretty good.
It was just disappointing. It's, I think most people are actively working towards not giving Andrew Tate a platform. And if
Yeah.
you would, if you were going to interview him or something, you need to hit hard. He's a fucking journalist.
Yeah.
So why aren't you asking about his active
Because he doesn't care about
rape
the
charges
news.
in Romania?
He doesn't
I don't think he asked at all. Like
He
it
doesn't
was
care.
like, okay.
Okay, so you know what?
Yeah.
Closing thought, and then we're gonna be done. Favorite scene from Oppenheimer?
You have one ready to go?
No, so that's
No?
why I asked you
Okay.
first, and then I'm gonna
Fuck.
think about it while you go. You're like, you want me to go? Oh, let me think. I don't know.
I can hear crickets go. Dead
we
air.
literally had like a cricket in here earlier again. I was like, oh, it's just like episode 10.
Dude, I'm so hot and sweaty right now. My fucking god. Okay. Favorite scene from Oppenheimer.
Or just a good scene. Just his with a good scene. He don't got it. He don't know.
I liked when he was at Berkeley and this guy, I don't remember his name. I want to say
The guy who
Josh
kind of mentored him?
Josh Holloway or something.
Oh,
No,
he's like the professor that he was friends with.
he was like another professor he was friends with at Berkeley. He was like building this particle
The
collider.
experimental guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like building this particle thing, and he's like, "Hey, we're building a particle collider. You want to help?" And he's like, "Well, no, I want to use it though."
I know.
But then just their
like
whole,
a theorist versus an experimentalist. Like it's so perfect that they.
but
built
just
that for-
everybody who, the ensemble and the cast of that movie, I could go on and on and on about.
Sure.
I don't know if you know like actors as much as I do, but dude, so you know when you're like, oh, there's that one guy from that one movie. That one guy from that one movie was in Oppenheimer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it had every fucking guy.
Yeah.
The guy I hadn't seen for 5 years, a guy I hadn't seen for 10 years, but they were still at one point like a huge actor, and I knew them right away. I was like, that's that fucking guy. Like, I'm glad to see you. What's up?
Did you ever watch Mr. Robot?
Yeah, I
I'm
did.
trying to remember. What's the actor's name?
Rami Malek. He was in it.
Yes. So I was gonna say one of my. It's not my favorite scene. I think my favorite scene would actually be him right at the end talking to Einstein. But I said I'm not gonna give away what they said because it's kind of a bit of a spoiler. But I love that little last interaction, and he's walking away, and you finally know what he said to him and why he didn't talk to the admiral guy.
Second favorite.
But I really liked when he was talking to, I think, the congressional committee, and everyone's like, oh, it's going to be in the bag. Like, he's just going to back you. And then all of a sudden he comes out and he's like, let me lay it out for you.
Exactly.
What this motherfucker did to Oppenheimer.
Robert
And
Downey Jr.
And then you see Robert Downey Jr. just like, what the fuck?
He turns
and then all of a
from
sudden
zero,
it's like a
hero
trial.
to zero
And
right
he even
there.
says right after that, he's like, how is this a trial about me now?
And he drops an F-bomb. I think it was one of the first F-bombs I've heard all movie. He's like, fucking Oppenheimer this. I was like, whoa, language.
Oh, you know what? Okay, I did also love when Oppenheimer's leaving the Oval Office, and you have the president like, don't invite that guy back. He's a whiny baby.
Yeah, he's a crybaby. I was like, whoa, uncalled for.
I was like, I hope he actually said that about
but that's
him.
accurate.
Did he actually?
I heard that. He went to Truman, and then Truman was offended because Oppenheimer's like, I feel like I have the blood on my hands. And he was
So it's
like,
like a real big Beth
he was
scene,
like, what do
honestly.
you mean?
Like, I can't wash
I
my
fucking
hands.
did this. You're mad. This was my thing. It was like egos going on, a respect thing, an America thing. He's like, no. I'm literally responsible for like a couple 100,000 people dying. A little bit of empathy here. Fucking crybaby.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
I know.
So who was after that? Eisenhower? Like he didn't last long, right?
I think he did everything like his full term. I don't know if he
Yeah, I
did a
don't know.
second term or not. Yeah.
Oh, that guy's a prick. I didn't know.
Well, you know, when Truman took over, he didn't actually know about the whole test and the Trinity
Manhattan
and all that.
Project?
He didn't know about it.
Wow, what was probably above
He
his...
came into office. Well, because at that time too, it was Roosevelt was in office,
Mhm.
and he came in, and all of a sudden he's like, "Wait, we have a nuke? What?" And that's an interesting side to see too, right? Because he's not the one who approved it. He's not the one who was funding it. He didn't know anything about it. And all of a sudden, he gets thrown into office right at the end of the war, and it's like, we pretty much have this weapon ready to go. You want to use it on Japan?
Wait, so how long was Truman in office before Like what year?
I don't know. I mean,
44?
it wasn't. It was like America was.
Isn't it always on an even year? So it's like probably 44 or 2. It wasn't like 43 or 45.
No. He died.
The election.
Truman was his VP.
Oh, really?
Truman took over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Truman wasn't elected in.
He was vice.
Truman like took over, and he was like,
okay, never mind.
"Oh, shoot, we have like a nuke."
So the
now?
VP didn't know we had a nuke.
Mm-mm.
What?
Yeah, the president knew. I assume the
It was very secretive. So that's why they were on Oppenheimer's fucking asshole so hard. So my last gripe, last thing I want to say today is why were they up his asshole so hard? That was like pissing. It was kind of lingering in the film. I was like, okay, we're gonna leave the guy alone. I think we already knew the outcome. I was like, he's gonna be fine. I was like, he's not going to jail or anything.
Yeah.
I didn't know he lost his security clearance, but that was like a huge deal. But
I mean, he still has a public voice. They were trying to assume that would mean that he would lose his credibility, but I'm like, he was still like on Time Magazine. He's still famous.
yeah, but these government stiffs were digging into him so hard over the littlest thing. And it was crooked because Robert Downey Jr. was like against him. Anyway.
Yeah.
Great film. Go see it. Subscribe to Garden Shed Podcast. Subscribe to Shed TV. Subscribe to Garden Shed Gaming. Subscribe to Jay Ortmeyer. Subscribe to Era Zapper. Go check us out on Instagram, Facebook,
Twitter,
TikTok, Twitter.
Oh, the new Twitter thing.
The Threads.
We're gonna be everywhere.
Global Shed Global Enterprises.
Thank
Global
you for
Shed.
calling Garden Shed Production.